Alright guys, welcome back to another Stepping Stone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel! Alright guys, I'm kidding. Am I? I don't know. New video location just dropped. I am on a rooftop in China. And today, I want to get back to talking about things. I know, kind of crazy, kind of radical. I feel a bit anxious, a bit nervous. I haven't done one of these in a while, but today I want to talk about something on my mind, which is today I reestablished a diplomatic relationship with an old friend. And what does that mean? You're probably like, Mr. Stone, what the fuck does that mean, bro? Holy shit, it's kind of like being up on an open area. You can see my body. You can see me physically walk away and die of laughter. Kind of cool, bro. But anyways, what does that mean, right? I basically mean there's a friend who I hadn't talked to in about a year and a half. We had a bit of a falling out. This might be weird if he's watching. He knows who he is. Stop watching, bro. Get off. Don't watch it. I'm kidding. It's whatever. But I basically want to talk about that and why I decided to do it and how it came about, and just talk about all of that and why I feel like it's particularly important in the current climate and environment in the United States of America right now. So that sounds cool. Come along. If it doesn't, get the... I can't do it. Basically, I stopped talking to this friend about a year and a half ago. And, you know, at the time, I was feeling very uncomfortable with, I guess, some of his behaviors. But, you know, I've realized so much after doing this journey of mine on this channel, which a lot of it encompasses trying to heal and be my authentic self. And, you know, it kind of all relates, because part of why I cut this friend off was because, in part, of a lot of my social traumas. And I didn't really understand it at the time. It definitely wasn't only my social traumas. He also did some things that were not cool. But we talked it out, we hashed it out. You know, I guess, I don't know, a lot of things, you know. I feel like for a lot of people, when it comes to like cutting someone out of our lives, it can be really tricky, right? And especially when it's like someone like super close to us, like family and shit, you know? Like, I know there are people who like cut out like their parents, you know, and all this crazy shit. And it's a crazy world, man. And some people are really crazy, and it's really sad a lot of times. And, you know, I feel like at the end of the day, we have to do what we have to do. We have to protect our peace. And I feel like I definitely did. You know, I blocked this person. He was calling me a lot of names and things and just disrespecting me, I would say. I felt like. And just doing a lot of things that weren't cool. But the context of what happened that day didn't start and end on that day. And what I realize now is it was really kind of like death by a thousand cuts. There was thousands of incidents, not from him solely, but from that friend group I used to be in general, and also throughout my life, from being bullied, from having a lot of expectations on me or judgments placed on me. I feel like I have that awareness and I have that understanding now that I didn't at the time. I just knew that I felt really uncomfortable, I felt unsafe, I felt kind of triggered, and I felt disrespected. And without getting too deep in the the specifics of that, that's not really what I want to focus on, but more so, you know, I feel like everything has like a time and place, you know, like we have to do things when we are ready to. One of my favorite quotes is like something like this. It's like, well, basically like when you're ready to change, you will. You know, there's a story I really like to tell of, basically it's like there's this teacher who like the student is like complaining about like doing some stretches because of pain, and let's say it's like their hip. And so he's like, like I can't do this stretch because it would hurt my hip. And he's like, okay, well, how about you do this variation? And they're like, oh, well, I can't do that because then it would hurt my knee. And like, okay, how about you try this? And it's like, oh, I can't do that because then it'll hurt my leg or whatever. You know, I'm just making shit up. But basically, the premise was like the teacher was offering suggestions, offering what the student could do, but they rejected it. They kept rejecting it. They're like, I can't do that because then this, right? And he responds and he's like, it seems like your desire to change the same is greater than your desire to change. When you're ready to change, you will. Something like that. But he said it like really compassionately and well-meaning, right? Very intentionally. I feel like it's such a like cool phrase, and sometimes there's like that like egotistical urge to be like, oh, like you're not ready to change, bro. Like it's alright. Like when you're ready, you'll change. Like I feel like it can become like a egotistical thing, but you know, this person truly meant it in a very compassionate way, and he was like, oh, like very, you know, kind about it and well-meaning. And I mean, it's true. Like, you know, as I've gone through this introspective journey and I continue going through my journey of life and authentic being, I feel like, you know, everything happens at its own pace. Everything happens for a reason, and you can't force things. You have to actually be ready and wanting to change and ready to do something. And you know, it was a year and a half that me and this person had not talked, but I felt ready. I had learned a lot. I learned so much about myself and my traumas, and you know, I grieved and processed a lot of emotions that were suppressed. I learned about boundaries and healthy communication and how to protect myself. And you know, I still had fears about how it might play out. I still had ideas about like maybe it'll be messy, maybe they hate me, maybe they resent me, maybe they'll disrespect me and this and that. But none of that happened. You know, I feel like it actually went extremely well. I'll be honest. You might be watching. I'll be honest. It went really well. Love you, bro. Oh my gosh. But yeah, it went really well. And part of why I felt really wanting to do it was partially macro level. Like, you know, I feel like if you're not aware, I've made a lot of videos and I've talked a lot about the state of the US, and I feel like I've kind of predicted a lot of the craziness that's going on in a way. And you know, part of it is like sometimes it feels cool. It's like, yeah, I was right. You know, the ego wants to come out, but it's also like it doesn't really bring pleasure either. It's a scary time and a lot of scary things are going on. But I also felt like, you know, particularly in the wake of the Charlie Kirk assassination, however you feel about it, I think most people can agree that there's a lot of division in the US right now, and that, I mean, for me, it's a very concerning thing, and I feel very concerned. And, you know, I'm a very diplomatic, mediation, negotiation-minded person. I mean, I'm in China right now. Let me prove it. And, you know, part of spending a lot of time in China is learning that it's very different from what people say, and learning that people are people mostly everywhere around the world. And I feel like in the wake of the climate in the US, I've thought a lot about what I can do and what I can contribute and how I can contribute and what's the most effective way to. And it's tricky. It's really tricky to balance worrying and contributing to these grander issues versus like our own well-being. And you know, I'm still learning, I'm still trying to balance making videos that I really want for myself versus that I want to do for greater good, especially in the realm of, I guess, these more serious like social macro topics, which can be extremely draining, extremely stressful. But I felt like it was very pertinent. Is that the word? I felt like it was very important. And this is someone who I agree with on a lot of things. And I was hearing about some of these things, and I really wanted to discuss and talk about it with him and kind of just, I don't know, formulate some game plan, you know? Like, I feel like I don't really have a lot of people who are as, I guess, passionate maybe, or interested in like trying to be proactive in affecting change and like, I guess, like steering the US in the right direction, you know? I feel like a lot of times people think that when people are very critical of the US, it's because they hate the US. I really don't. I mean, simply put, I love the US. I feel that the US doesn't love me. That's a whole thing. But I feel that I think there's a certain direction that I would like the US to be steered in for the sake and the benefit of the US and of all Americans, not just for myself. And I feel like this is a time where we really do need to put aside differences and be more united, engage in more dialogue, engage in more mediation and diplomacy and negotiation and understanding. I mean, it's one of the biggest missions of my channel. I have a mission statement. If you know it, skip this. If you don't, it goes like this: to inspire people to be more curious, connected, and understanding of themselves, each other, and the world around them, so they may live a more authentic, healthy, and harmonious and fulfilling life, be unafraid to dream, and be unrelenting in the pursuit of their dreams. That's my mission. That leads everything I do and everything I do on this channel. I wish I could just focus on myself and having fun and being joyous and just making videos purely about non-urgent, non-critical moments. But I do feel it's a very urgent and critical moment in the world and in the US. And I want some of what I do to be in response to the now and what's going on now. And part of me reconciling with this friend was for that aim. I intend to talk about him about all these things, and maybe we can start some movement in person, in real life, amongst our friend group and amongst our mutuals. I feel like one of the most important things right now is not spending too much time online, on social media especially, not getting echo chambered and doomsdayish and gloomy, not getting stuck, not getting paralyzed, because it's very easy to, and I've fallen into that myself. But I feel like it's very important to, first and foremost, maintain our wellness. But, if we have the privilege, as I do, to be well and to be able to affect and lead and mobilize for these grander issues, part of why I lead my lifestyle is so that I can do stuff like that. I can talk about things that matter. I can affect change in ways that matter to me. And I think we can use a lot more of that. And so, I don't know. I just wanted to share this. Maybe it inspires you guys. Maybe there are people out there who have a friend who they've fallen out with. I have other friends I've fallen out with that, I'm probably a step closer to connecting with them. I don't know if that's the priority, but I don't know. Just want to talk about it. I know there's a lot of people who, maybe it's not a friend, maybe it's a family, maybe it's parents. I think in the US there's a lot of people who have, at the very least, felt more divided and disconnected from people because of a lot of things going on and what people say, people's stances, whatever side you're on, I hope to engage with more people, and I feel more ready to engage with more people, especially people who don't agree with me. I think I've gotten very good at that. At one point in my life, me and this person were not agreeing on a more personal relationship basis, but nonetheless. So I think it's a very important skill. It's a very important thing in this moment, and I'm really glad that we reconciled. We reestablished diplomatic relations. And it's funny because, that really was what I studied in college. A lot of times I think I'm wasting my life. People might think I'm wasting my degree. If you don't know, I majored in global studies with a focus on peace and conflict. And so I feel like that's a huge part of my channel and my life and what I do too. I study the globe. I study myself. I study others. I study the world around me. And I try to promote peace and foster understanding. And I try to prevent and resolve conflict to the best of my ability. That sounds pretty freaking cool to me. That's my life, that's my purpose, and what I decided for it. And I kind of just realized that in the moment as I'm recording this. That's a beautiful thing. And that's part of why I love making these videos. I learn things every single time. And I push myself every single time. And I've definitely done that for this video. And I'm very glad I did. So with that, I'll stop there. I don't know if anyone will watch. I hope someone does. I really enjoyed it. That's all that matters. Another stepping stone down. I can put my camera down now and not hold it up for the right angle. And and I can embarrass myself by doing this. Oh yeah! Oh no. What have I done? I've unlocked a new beast, man. The full body camera is gonna be feared by many in the coming days and in the coming near future. I can already sense it. Anyways, another stepping stone down. I'm out of here. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves. Be well. Do what you can to help others. And let's get to work. All right, peace.